What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood. He's managing editor for State of the U. Go check out stateoftheu.com. It is, first of all, it is the best website of all the UM information, but also it's free. And as Cam says, it's open 24/7, 365. So, those late nights while you're making a, Taco Bell run, you can be on State of the U, just eating your burrito supreme, if that's what floats your boat.
Can.
So go do that. I am Brian the Beast London. And right now, if you couldn't tell, by the way, it says Tampa behind me. So, Cam, it's spring break for my son in high school, who's a junior in high school, a rising senior, as they say. And we are on our tour of all the colleges in the state of Florida to figure out where he can actually go to school. Yesterday, we did UCF. Man, that place is huge. 70,000 students on that campus.
Yeah.
I've never been on a college campus before that literally had like 2 Chick-fil-A's, like 17 Starbucks, like 3 Domino's, like on campus. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is different.
A proper college town that, it's just like for those who didn't go to like a state school or something like that,
right.
Why Ann Arbor, Michigan exists, like the University of Michigan, and then boom, they took one of those size schools. Because Michigan is only like 40,000, but they took one of those, put it in Orlando, and put it on steroids basically as UCF. So, really interesting campus.
Yeah, no doubt. Tomorrow is USF, which I don't have high hopes for.
Okay.
It's simply because we're in Central Florida. We might as well hit that one. I will say this though. The kid did spend last summer in a program at the University of Miami, and the U is still at the top of his list. There's only one issue, which is, 2 issues. One, he has to actually get in, and 2, it's quite expensive. So homeboy better get some scholarship money.
All of those concerns are things that we all kind of had to deal with. You and I both, and many others. But yeah, it's good to see that you are on your recruiting unofficial visit tour.
It is.
Just like so many 7-on-7 teams and other private companies. Shout out to Brandon O'Doy with Football Hotbed, who does one. Where they just go and go and hit all these different schools in the state of Florida and out. So yeah, it's interesting to have you on that side of things.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, I almost choked on dinner last night when my son's like, "Hey, can I go visit NYU?" And I was like, "Okay."
A great school that I
amazing
and got into, by the way. So
yeah, good for you. I'm not sure Little Beast is ready for that sort of situation, but in any event, I'm not. He might be ready academically, but I'm not sure I'm ready to release him on New York City. But that's a whole
exactly. No, that's a you thing, not a that's a Brian thing, not a Zach thing. Yeah.
No, valid point. All right, let's get to the Canes.
Let's do it.
Spring practice continues. After spring break is over. So we'll get to some of that stuff, but I wanted to start with Pro Day because it was huge. All 32 teams were represented. They had 1,000 staff members between all the teams on campus. I think the storylines are this. Cam Ward did Cam Ward things, and at this point is the consensus number 1 pick. And if it's not Tennessee that takes him, it's going to be whoever trades with Tennessee is going to take him. That's going to be the number 1 pick. And I'm so happy for him. And he's amazing. And then the other story we have to get to, Elijah Arroyo showed out and I think proved his draft stock. But we do have to discuss the Xavier Restrepo situation. It's a little weird what happened. So we'll get to that in a moment. But first, just your top of the line feelings about Pro Day down at Miami.
Number one, it was just really great to have it be a 5-hour commercial for the University of Miami football program on both ACC Network and NFL Network. ACC started at 4 o'clock and NFL Network at 4:30, but from there, it was a little bit, it was from there till almost 7. So, but between the 2 channels, that's, almost 6, contiguous hours or collective hours worth of programming. And that's great. So you had, 2 interviews with Mario Cristobal. You had Damien Martinez. You had Shannon Dawson, Elijah Arroyo, Xavier Restrepo. All of them sat down with or with one of the networks, Cristobal with both, and everything. That was great. You also got to see some of the current players in the background. if NFL teams were not doing their early due diligence on Markel Bell before Monday's pro day, I guarantee you he's on their list now because he's every bit of 6'9", 340.
Huge.
And he was standing in the background when Damian Martinez was doing a sit-down interview. And I saw several staffers behind him like, yo, how's the air up there, Stretch? Like, like looking up and everything. So he's definitely on the board for the 26 NFL draft. In terms of on-field, I wish we would have seen more of the other drills. Like we saw the entire pass skeleton, like the Cam Ward show. Clearly, that's why everybody pulled up. Duh. I wish we could have seen some of the other things because players did go through their other drills. We did see Xavier Restrepo on television doing the short shuttle and the 3-cone. So like the 3-cone is 5 yards one way, 10 yards back, and then 5 yards back to the middle. That's the 20-yard short shuttle. Sorry, that's the 20-yard short shuttle. And then the 3-cone is like up, back, L shape, kind of figure eight around it, boom, and everything. So we saw a couple drills, didn't see any defensive players go through any drills. Would have liked to have seen that on either of the broadcasts or both. I definitely think it was great to have the Cam Ward show, and Cam himself spoke about the importance of saving his throwing for the pro day on campus because he plays a team sport with a team and wanted to give spotlight to his teammates that helped him to the success that he had. As the the ACC network host Taylor Tannenbaum said, a high tide raises all boats, basically. So he knew that he was going to get the eyes and the spotlight and having 147 staffers from all 32 teams there. But it was important that the other guys who were going to the draft were able to see it. So Simeon Barrow had a full packed weight room when he did 32 reps of 225, which would have tied for the most of any defensive lineman at the combine. Boom. Like, you love to see that. You love to have all those guys there. Tyler Barron went through drills. Kiko Maminoa went through drills. Michelle Powell went through drills and had a full packed house there. And that was really important. So those are kind of my big takeaways. Elijah Arroyo, and I would have liked to see him run the 40, but I understand why he didn't if he's not 100% healthy.
Yeah, not healthy.
And he's put on film running 22 miles an hour in multiple games. Right. So that translate that, do the dimensional analysis and, carry the one and figure out what his 40 time would be. Right. But we've seen this guy be, and I saw the stat earlier, when he had that touchdown at Georgia Tech up the seam.
Yeah.
There were only 6 ball carriers in the entirety of the NFL last season who eclipsed his miles per hour on that play. Buddy, what are we talking about? Like, I don't need to do that.
By the way, was he faster on that play or on the play when he went to chase down the guy on the turnover?
See, I personally think he was faster on the chase down of
me too.
Tech, but he didn't have the ball, so he wasn't being tracked as a ball carrier.
Come on, man.
I know. Maybe I need to look and find out, but I know the one that they referenced was the touchdown against.
Right. Yes, Tech. I agree. Yeah.
So, but I think even he was faster on the Virginia Tech one, kind of like when DK Metcalf chased down Buda Baker or whatever in the NFL. So yeah, that was personally disappointing, but I understand it, and I think he has a very strong profile to be the third taken tight end in this draft. To your earlier point, Xavier Restrepo. I'm disappointed. I'm of two minds.
Okay.
Here. But go ahead, ask your question.
Well, my question is, what are you disappointed in?
Yeah, I'm conflicted. I'm of two minds. So if you're not healthy, don't do it, which we saw with Elijah Arroyo.
Correct.
Right. And if you look at the short shuttle, the 3-cone drill, which were low 4.2. Oh, sorry, the 3-cone was low 4.2s. It's like 4.21, which would have been among the best times in the combine had he done that at the combine, right? And I know that he just didn't do that drill. You compound that with all of the routes that he ran in the passing drills,
right,
including several reps from running back where he's running angle routes option routes, flat routes, a wheel route from the backfield. So you're showing even more things you can do in an NFL passing game. You have that. You have the change of direction drills. You have your career, right? If you're like, well, are you fast enough? I ran away from the guys at Cal for 76 yards. I ran away from the guys at Duke on the record-setting catch, right? I ran away from Georgia Tech, Louisville. Same thing like I was talking about with Elijah Arroyo. Stand on your business. But if you're not healthy for an athletic test, which is your job interview and the biggest job interview of your life, don't run. And I heard from multiple independent sources on Monday that Restrepo was told not to run.
I just want to jump on that and say that I heard the same thing from more than one person.
Right. So then I'm like, okay, it like in a vacuum, it didn't make sense, but I was like, okay, if he ran what he ran and he was being told not to run, he's not right. He's not healthy. Something's wrong. That was my initial thought as soon as I heard and, checked those people. Then Restrepo comes out on Tuesday after Pro Day and says, well, I never get on social media and I don't speak on things, but, I got to now. This is after he ran 4.83 and 4.81. Right. And then he's like, well, when I was warming up, I hurt my right hamstring, but I'm a dog and I'm a competitor. And I had done 4.52 and 4.55 in laser testing when I was training. And all I know was work and all I know was grind. So that's pride. That's pride. That's pride. Like, that is what it is. And pride come before the fall. And his pride in running that 40 probably precedes the fall of his draft stock in some measure, because you didn't put on film 4.8 a couple of times in front of the same 147 people that we're talking about watching Cam Ward do all the great things, watching you do all the great things in the passing show, also saw you ran 4.8 twice in front of their eyes. I'm sorry, it is what it is. Am I throwing out the baby with the bathwater because of those bad times? No. But the sea level is lowering. You know what I mean? Like, when I have a friend who said that Restrepo was going to run 4.52 in the 40, set it and forget it. I don't want to hear what you're talking about, Cam. And I said, that seems a little bit aggressive. And if he would have ran 4.52 like he claimed that he had been doing in training on laser time with Nick Bomarito and, whatever, there's a good chance he's he's drafted in the top 2 rounds. He's easily probably a top 65, maybe 75 pick. You put 4.8s on film in front of people, you're looking at a 5. You're looking at maybe a 6. Now, is there going to be a team that completely ignores his 40 from Monday and takes him still in the second or third? It's possible, but it's just, if you had not been prideful, I'm just going to call it what it is. If you would listen to the people advising you, listen to your body, which you said you knew you had tweaked your hamstring, and set your pride aside, it wouldn't be part of a conversation, because, again, with Elijah Arroyo, it is not. And that was what you had, and you would have had such a different view of things. And that's my view of it. So, like, it's unfortunate that he was so prideful that he didn't listen to his body and his advisors and chose to do those 2 ill-advised 40s, because he could have done one and been like, my hamstring ain't right, I'm not going to run the second one. Nah, he said, I'm going to double down on that, and then it was worse. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, which is unfortunate for the career leader in receptions, yards, receiving touchdowns, a heart and soul guy for this program, a guy who transferred away from St. Thomas Aquinas to Deerfield Beach for the express purpose of being able to enroll early and get every single possible day as a University of Miami Hurricane. You ruined my sandcastle, bro. Like, you did one stupid thing, and it's the point of conversation, and it's really frustrating to me, because you're making life harder on yourself than it needed to be.
So, a couple of things here. By the way, I totally agree with almost everything you just said, but doing a little research. So, we think that the slowest time he ran of the 2 times was a 4.83. That seems to be a consensus. I did some research. I think the slowest time in modern history of a wide receiver ran at the combine was a 4.86. So, 4.83 is not good.
Right. But the slowest time ever by a drafted wide receiver is 4.76.
Okay. Yeah.
He who ran the 4.83 did not get drafted.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct. All right. So there's one thing. Two, totally agree that if he wasn't right, he shouldn't run. Let your film speak for yourself. All of that. I hate to say that when I saw his post on X, there was a little bit of doubt in my mind as to, was this a statement that was crafted by an agent? Was this what you were told to do because you've gotten feedback? Or was this really the case? If it was really the case, why'd you run? Like, all those thoughts are going through my mind, right? But here's on the other side of it. I think if you throw the film on and you watch Xavier Restrepo, there is no doubt. And if you talk to the kid, right? If you sit down with him and talk to him, if you watch him, you know what kind of player you are getting. Now, the problem is, as I see it, is if his stock falls, right? So I think you're right. If he had run that, 4.5 something, he might have hit the second round. Now, you're right. It's probably 5 or lower. There's a chance, depending on how the draft goes, that he does not get drafted. There is also a chance, by the way, that a team ignores that and says, okay, we'll take you in the third round and, whatever, throw that out there. There's all sorts of possibilities. We don't know how the draft's going to break out. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But the problem is the further down you get drafted, the less a team has invested in you, which means the less patience they have to have with you. That means they don't maybe give you the second or third chance that you might need in order to make the squad, right? Because NFL rosters aren't as big as college rosters, right? So every spot is a premium. So, that it's not just about the money as far as being drafted higher or lower. It's also about how much the team is going to invest in you and how much time they're going to give you to get yourself right and get yourself ready for the NFL. So we'll see how that affects him. I would say this, though. If he is drafted that low, like 5 and below, I think whoever drafts him is getting complete value. I think that's a value pick at that point.
No, I agree with you. He set himself back with that. And especially in the court of public opinion. Now, I know that there are several, NFL draft people who are just like, hey, man, go look at the film. Like, ignore the 40 time, look at the film. And there's a lot to be said for that. But also the fact that he crafted this tweet, X post, whatever you want to call it, and then deleted it, but it's already been screenshotted and transcribed, right? This is another instance of, well, this is an individual, but of someone associated with Miami Hurricanes football trying to do damage control when they were in control of the situation.
Right.
And the conversation. Remember after the bowl game when Mario Cristobal just said, we make our decisions in-house and I don't have to say anything. And everybody talked crap about Cam Ward for 3 weeks. And finally, when he hired new coordinators, he said, or defense coordinators, sorry. He said, this was actually the plan and blah, blah. So y'all were talking out the side of your neck. You had the opportunity to say this, Mario.
Exactly.
And you chose not to, and now we're doing damage control. This is the same thing for Xavier Restrepo. You knew you were hurt in a way that you should have not run the 40. You were told by multiple people you should not run the 40, and you let your pride take over, and you ran a terrible, undraftable time. If you're going by what's been in the past, there's been no receiver who's been drafted who ran as slowly as you did. And then you want to come out later, oh man, I was hurt, and da-da-da-da. It's just like, why? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Use some good sense. Set your pride aside. And I get it. You were grinding for weeks and you wanted to do that. But as soon as you felt that tweak in your hamstring, I'm a stand-up guy. You know what he could have done? He could have went over to each and every one of those executives and said, hey, I know you came here to see me run. I just did something to my hamstring. I'm going to do the short shuttle drill. I'm going to do the passing skeleton, but I don't feel right doing the 40. But I'm a stand-up guy, and I want to look you in the face because I have that kind of character. And I believe that fits in his character.
Right.
He could have done that, and that would have went over so much better than, okay, I did it, and it was substandard for an NFL athlete at my position and my caliber. And now I got to try to talk my way out of everybody seeing me run this, like your 42-year-old Cam with a piano on your back or something. Like, it just, Come on.
If someone can run a 40 with a piano on their back and get like a 4 something, that would be awesome.
You get my point.
Yeah, I would. All right. Well, we'll digest this one, and we'll see as we get closer to the draft what the experts are saying and where he's projected and all that stuff. So we'll dive more into that. I did want to, for a second before we take a break and get into recruiting on the other side, I just want to talk about spring practice because I went through and just watched a bunch of stuff, and there was a lot of focus on the running backs, and it's something was brought up by Coach Merritt that I didn't even, I guess, really think about. Which is this is Mark Fletcher's really first full offseason because he didn't enter school until May, I think, of his, before he started, May or June. And then, he got hurt and had surgery at the Pinstripe Bowl. He didn't go through that offseason. So this is like his first full spring into the whole summer, the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see what this does for Mark Fletcher being RB1 and what he's going to look like in August. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm kind of excited that he has this time to really get everything right going into August. So that was really a positive to me. And then the other thing I noticed, because we talked about him last week, was Chris Wheatley-Humphrey. Humphrey. There you go. He gained 25 pounds. And that is a substantial amount for a running back. And word on the street is that he feels a lot more confident and better about himself after gaining the weight. And it's also ties into blocking, in which case I think he's going to be coaches are going to be willing to put him in more situations if he's able to actually block a linebacker, because that's important. So those are things that, to me, it's like, oh, okay, those were a couple of eye-opening things that I heard this week when they were talking about the running backs, and I'm excited about that room, right? And we talked about what recruiting is going to look like from that position, but I'm excited about the guys that are in the room now, right? I think that's a great position for Miami, and I think I really like the direction that room is taking right now, where you lose a Damian Martinez and you lose other guys from transferring over the past couple of years, and you could be really unsettled there. But I kind of like the direction they're heading in.
Nice. Well, I mean, I just learned that Chris Wheatley-Humphrey fact, so that puts him from the mid 170s up around 200 or a little over.
Yes, he's about 200. 201, 200.
Because he was like 173, 174 coming in. So we'll call 175 plus 25. Yeah, it gets up around 200. That's good weight. I know. I mean, he's a track guy. He's 11 and a half yards a carry at South Broward, like faster than everybody, but maybe not necessarily game ready for this level. Hearing that he's put on that kind of a weight is really impressive in a single year, but also the kind of fluctuations you can do at 18, 19 years old with great ease and everything. So having that confidence in your body and size is great. The running back room as a whole, we do have 4 blue chip talents there. I would like another body. I would like another top of the rotation veteran guy. Someone, I know he's not coming back here, but like an AJ Allen profile. Like if he were still here, I would feel a lot better, because I know that I'm comfortable with Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle, and I am really comfortable with the potential of Gerard Pringle and Chris Wheatley-Humphrey. I don't have that other consistent, you've done it at the college level, just kind of plug and play and be league average type dude. I know that there's been talk about Elijah Lofton being Bugs Bunny and playing every single position, whether it's running back, fullback, tight end, wide receiver, slot this, slot that. I get it. And if he's the right guy just to do all of those things, great. I would like still a veteran running back, if there's one available in the portal, just from a readiness for this year and just a sheer numbers standpoint. But like I said last week, I still fully expect Miami to take 3 in high school recruiting this year as well.
Speed of recruiting, that brings us to that. Let's do that on the other side. I believe this weekend there's about 7 million people visiting, maybe 8 million. Man. I'm not quite sure, but it's a lot. So we will do that on the other side. We'll also I don't want to, but I may have to say 3 more words about baseball because But I'll decide.
Okay.
I'll decide whether I want to trigger myself or not. We will do that on the other side. We'll be back after this. You're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. Welcome back to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood. Follow him on X at Underwood Sports. He's the managing editor of State of the U. You have to go check out State of the U, one of the best websites. You're going to get great content about the Canes. It's free. It's open 24/7, 365. And right now, top stories about getting Elijah Lofton the football. So there's that. And you can read about how he's going to be used at 27 different positions this year. I look forward to that. So go check out stateoftheu.com. I'm Brian the Beast London. Follow me at Miami Radio Beast Cam. There is the list of recruits that are going to be on campus this weekend. Probably as people are listening and watching to this right now, these recruits will be all about town, exploring the greater Miami area and checking out campus and all that stuff. But the list is ridiculous. And it's not just ridiculous from a quantity standpoint, but as I started digging into every name, I'm like, oh, that guy's number 1 in his position. Oh, that guy's number 1 in his state. Oh, that guy's number 1 over here. It is just unbelievable, the wealth of talent that is going to be on campus this weekend. And I kind of got overwhelmed by it as I was digging into this stuff. So let's help the audience, but also help me figure out, like, who do I need to keep my eyes on and and go follow the news specifically on that person? Because there's 48 million people on this list. I can't wrap my brain around it.
Now, first of all, this is a great problem to have. Of like, oh my God, there's 1 million blue chip kids coming to campus for the pool party this weekend. Point me in some direction because it's crazy. So before I do that, let's take it back. The pool party was first instituted by Mark Richt years ago, right? And this was a summer, July thing, but they've changed the recruiting calendar. So like the month of July is now a dead period for recruiting, but you have your spring visits before that. So Mario Cristobal, wanting to have that vibe, but obviously not in July anymore, said, hey, you know what? Bang, let's move it up to this weekend. They've changed practice days from Monday, Wednesday, Friday before spring break so the kids could leave after practice on Friday. After spring break, we're Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. This Saturday is the first spring scrimmage, which Mario Cristobal said on Monday at Pro Day. So you're going to have the first fully padded, all the way tackle to the ground scrimmage, right? And you're going to have a ton of players there. So you see how you practice, you see how you work, you're all the way around that, and you have this incredible recruiting event. This kind of collection of talent mirrors what Mark Richt also did, not at the pool party, which was incredible, but I don't know if you remember Paradise Camp.
Yeah, I do.
Headline
elite
camp. When Mark Richt first instituted those, there was more talent on Miami's campus than were at the opening regional or the opening national finals for that event held in Oregon at the Nike headquarters, right? The elite group. There was more talent in Miami those 2 years for Paradise, or the first 2 years for Paradise Camp. This list mirrors that kind of level of talent, guys. So, boom. So now I know you're like, okay, Cam, you've told me the backstory, you give me the preamble, you've laid it out. Give me the names, or some of the names that have been reported by Canes Insight, by On3, by 247, by everybody. Sure, fine. Since you asked so nicely, a 5-star offensive lineman, not Jackson Cantwell, Kenye Pepe from IMG Academy.
Yep,
that's a kid that you're taking regardless, right? He has a spot. Even if you get Jackson Cantwell and Kenye Pepe has a spot. He's 6'7", 305 pounds, plays left tackle for IMG. What else do I need to tell you?
I think he's like he could be ranked like the top player in Florida, or one of the very top players in Florida. He's like a can't miss.
Yes. The caveat to that is you kind of have to do a little bit of data work and remove the IMG kids who are not actually Floridians from that. But since he goes to IMG, he's regardless, he's a top 25 national player. Cool, thanks, love that. Lamar Brown from Baton Rouge Southern Lab School, which is on the campus of Southern University. Blue chipper, borderline 5-star. Some teams like him on offensive line. Miami might like him better at defensive tackle from some of the reports, or chatter, as Brian likes to say. Who knows? But that's another top 25 player in the country. My favorite player, because he is like the mountain from Game of Thrones, big and strong and remarkably quick for a man that size.
Right.
Hezekiah Kent goes by just the first two syllables, Hezzy Kent, from Brunswick, Georgia, same town as DJ Dallas. Shout out to DJ Dallas. This kid is 6'5.5", 300 pounds, playing tight end.
Well, can I interject
and
for 1
plays
second?
It well.
Can I interject for a second? So
this
kid is also my favorite that's going to be on campus this weekend because of that. But a couple of things on that. One, I think there's a story to be told here. Remember a kid named Eric Winston?
Yep.
End up being a prolific offensive tackle, not only at Miami, but also in the NFL. Well, if you remember, Eric Winston came to Miami as a tight end. Same situation. And the reason why he came to Miami, partly, was because other places wanted him to play offensive line. He was not ready to play offensive line yet. He still wanted to be a tight end. So Miami let him play a tight end. A matter of fact, on the last play of the of Miami's attempt to win that Fiesta Bowl that I never want to talk about, when Ken Dorsey was concussed, the pass was intended for Eric Winston, who couldn't keep up to it. But in any event, on a plane ride, I forget where we were going. Eric Winston's a tight end, but there was a conversation that took place in the back of the plane between a former offensive lineman that maybe or may not be on the radio broadcast and Eric Winston. This all happened right next to me, where it was laid out to him how much money he could make as an offensive tackle versus a tight end in the NFL. And this was obviously before Gazelle tight ends were really a thing and whatever. And there was spreadsheets shown, there was pages of notes and what have you. And it was at that moment at somewhere 35,000 feet over the country that Eric Winston said, you know what, I'm going to change the tackle. In any event, Hezzy Kent kind of reminds me of this, because Miami's saying to Hezzy Kent, you want to come and play tight end? Sure, come and play tight end.
I mean, yeah. Could he stick a tight end if he slimmed down to a Darnell Washington 280?
Sure.
Absolutely. But just like Eric Winston, who his entire freshman year was basically Dan Skipper from the Lions, being the sixth lineman eligible. When they went to two tight ends, they just parked it right next to the tackle and blocked off the edge anyway. Yeah, but this is a kid, and if you go look up the highlights as you're listening, Heze is his first name, Kent, like Clark Kent is his last name. You're going to watch, you're not going to be ready for the way that this kid moves at that size. And he's like a legit 6'6", 300 pounds. Yeah. So if he stays a tight end and he slims down, great. If he finally decides, you know what, I do want that second cheeseburger, and he's going to move to offensive line, cool. I'm great with it. Either way, another top 50 talent who's here. Tomahini Topoi just decommitted from Oregon. He's a blue chip defensive tackle from Mater Dei High School out in Los Angeles. USC just had him on campus earlier this week. They're trending on the predictions, but he's coming out here along with one of his teammates, Chris Henry Jr., five-star wide receiver, committed to Ohio State, son of Chris Henry, God rest his soul, from the Cincinnati Bengals and West Virginia University and everything. So that's a guy. Vodney Cleveland is another top 100 defensive lineman. Jake Cruel, Tommy Toffee is an offensive lineman. Jordan Campbell being committed to Miami, but Florida is trying to flip that All-American linebacker. He's on there. Jalen Waters, who Miami flipped from Florida and Florida previously flipped from FSU, is on there. Nasir McCoy. NASCAR is his nickname. What an awesome nickname. He's another blue chipper. Zachary Turner is a tight end from Duncanville, Texas. So he was out there with all kinds of 5 stars like Keelan Russell, and there was a wide receiver, I forget which one, went to Duncanville as a 5-star, but he played on that offense last year. John Tavius Wyman, that Miami's trying to flip from Georgia. He's been down a few times, should be back. Brett College, who's an offensive lineman from IMG Academy, teammates and I believe roommates with Kenny Pepe over there, offensive interior lineman at guard. He'll be down. I don't know how to say this one. Genevieve, G''N''I, N-V-I-R-E.
I think it's Genevieve Carr,
Genevieve Carr.
I'm going with that.
Big offensive lineman. He's down. Ben Congdon, Miami commit. Ryan Moret from Southridge, whose father is the principal of Southridge, and I used to previously work with in a tangential kind of a way. He'll be down. There is another few offensive linemen, like a Cannon Pickett, like a Chancellor Campbell, Deron Parks. There's other one I saw. Joel Irvin, who just decommitted from Louisville this last week, I want to say. 6'6", 340 with 11.5-inch hands and 35-inch arms at tackle. Yeah, that's a guy who Miami would love to get. This Reese Woodrow kid is another kid that they're looking at potentially either him or Ryan Moret at center in this class. Should be down. Javian Mallory, who's committed to Miami. And there's several others that like I either forgot or didn't see on the lists that were kind of going around. But like, even if the names that I said were the only names, that would be a star-studded, absolutely packed recruiting event. So it's those guys and even more who are sure to show up. It's just, this is the time that Miami needs to push for a top 5 class. I was skeptical when I heard, discussed, and saw, and even talked with others saying, that the 25 class, i.e. the class that are on campus now, like, the Gerard Pringles of the world and that class, was not the class that was going to see the boost from Cam Ward's excellence on the field. It was going to be this next group in 26. It's now bearing itself out to be true because, I mean, there are, 12 to 15 top 100 kids?
Yeah.
Sorry, probably more than that. I'm saying it's probably like 15 top 50 kids and 25 top 100 kids coming on Saturday, as well as other dudes who aren't even that currently highly ranked, like a Joel Irvin that Miami apparently thinks is a borderline 4-star, 5-star kind of a type of player. And there's even more to shake a stick at. So, yeah, it's going to be an incredible recruiting day, an incredible recruiting event for Miami. And this is the time that they really need to continue pushing on some other 5-stars. So we already know that Jackson Cantwell's been there. We already know that other guys have been there, and they're trying to work their magic with. But this collection, whether they're returning again for another unofficial visit this spring or their first, this Saturday is going to be a real opportunity to, like, not take baby steps, but like, remember the Mother May I game from elementary school? Can I take three baby steps? No, this is the opportunity to take like 5 leaps and bounds forward in the pursuit of some of these dudes. So really excited to see what shakes out.
And why do you think it's so important that there's this much talent on campus right now?
Because you got to get them on campus to be able to effectively have a chance at them, right? There's very few Jaden Hazelwoods of the world who, I know he came to Miami a billion times, but kept it hidden that his father played at Oklahoma, right, and he was a lifelong Oklahoma fan. And so when he committed to Oklahoma, he was like, here's a picture of me as a baby with my father's Oklahoma jersey. What did y'all think? But he never visited Oklahoma in his actual recruitment his senior year. So that was like the curveball of the world because he knew a thing, but like nobody else saw it because he didn't visit, right? Absent that really extreme instance, you have to get guys on campus. And for elite guys, you got to get them on campus at their own expense for unofficial visits 2, if not 3 times, which has happened with a Ben Congdon, which has happened with a Javian Mallory, which is being built with some of these other guys. You have to get them there at their own expense to have a chance. It is proven time over time. You can look at what Bud Elliott has written about recruiting in his blue chip ratio and other pieces when he was at SB Nation, now at CBS Sports, and even at Tomahawk Nation, a website on SB Nation that he helped found. I know that talks about Florida State, but the content is there. If you look at the recruiting rules that I wrote where I talked to Bud Elliott and others, you have to follow the visits. They matter so very much. And to get all these guys together, what you're doing is you're using the momentum of one to help the impact of the recruitment of another, because we've seen that meme of the Bugatti in the hood, in the torn down carport of the house, right? A player does not want to be by themselves. Like, elite players want to play with other elite players. So if you're seeing now elite players on the roster and you're seeing elite players that were in last recruiting class, and now I look around at this pool party and every which way that I turn, there are more elite players at my and other positions. If a lot of us come here, then we will have the ability to hopefully do good things, on the field moving forward. So that's why it's important to have these events. That's why it's important to get this collection and a level of talent so that, your superstar player is not just sitting here looking around. It's like when the basketball team tried to recruit Vernon Carey Jr.
Yeah.
Right. He came down and he's just like, there's nobody else of my caliber on this team, in this recruiting class, even being looked at by Miami basketball. He ended up not following his father's footsteps. He went to Duke, But pretend that situation was different, and you had obviously a different number, but you had 2 other top 50 basketball recruits being recruited with Vernon Carey II. That changes things. Obviously, the numbers are going to be greater because there's more positions on the field and more positions on a roster with football. It's that same thing. I look over there, state champion, number 1 in his position, number 1 in his state, like you were saying. And now it's like, okay, I can see how we can build something really, really special. That's why it's important to have that kind of talent together. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mario Cristobal and company, a staff that is known for being dogged and tireless recruiters, can do with this opportunity to present themselves to all this kind of talent.
Yeah, there's the wealth of talent, and now is time to strike while the iron is hot, as they say. After Miami got plenty of attention through the Cam Ward era, which was just only a year, but still remarkable nonetheless. Go ahead.
And it's going to continue because, like you said earlier, Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Whether it's Tennessee or somebody trading up there. I mean, he had to work out with Cleveland as well. That is still at the top of everyone's brain. And then you're going to see Tyler Barron getting drafted and Elijah Arroyo and Okay, cool. So instead of Arroyo, who was injured for multiple years and then showed his talent, and he gets drafted in the 2nd, maybe 3rd round. What if I'm here and I ball out all 4 years? What instead of Tyler Barron going somewhere else for 4 years and then coming here and then elevating his stock, I go here, we build from the ground up, challenge for championships, whether that's conference or national, and then I develop also and I work with So, yeah, all that's in front of us.
I've been debating for the last 20 minutes about whether I'm going to bring up the UM baseball situation, but I don't think I need that in my life right now. They're playing North Carolina this weekend. North Carolina, again, another good ACC team. Miami dropped a pathetic midweek game. FSU dropped 2 of 3. It's just not boding well. And I just can't. That's all I can say. When someone asks me about baseball, because people have been texting me nonstop, I just say,
of course,
I can't.
I'm of the other, well, not other mind, but I'm already done with JD Arteaga.
Right, I know you are.
I'm just waiting. It's the same thing like with Manny Diaz after we lost to Michigan State and Mel Tucker basically called us some punks. That was the moment, and I wrote it after the game. I said that's it for me. However long this goes, cool, but I'm already checked out. I'm done. Same thing with baseball, unfortunately, because again, that was the first Miami team that I ever loved. And it's tough to see them go out like that. But
although someone did bring up I forget where I read this, and I think I sent it to you, where someone wrote that at other schools, baseball players are getting NIL deals, and that's like some good change for them to buy cars and houses and do all the things that you're supposed to do with NIL money. At Miami, the baseball players get NIL money. That's for them to pay for school, and therein lies the issue.
Where's the line? I mean, for the vast majority, because we got 11.8, but I'm pretty sure that Daniel Cuvée got a full one of those scholarships.
Yeah, there's usually one. There's usually one. Just about that.
Yeah.
In any event,
it is what it is. 11.7. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's a percentage. There's no doubt about it. All right, I will let you enjoy your weekend. I will continue the tour around the state of Florida. I'm glad that this hotel room is extremely dark, but the art is just wonderful. So I'm extremely happy about that. Cam, thank you as always. Go check out stateoftheu.com. It is an amazing website. Please go there right now. As soon as you're done watching or listening to this episode, go enjoy Cam's work and all the staff's work. They do a great job. Also follow Cam at Underwood Sports on the X. Follow me at Miami Radio Beast. For Cam and myself, we will see you next time. Peace.